On this special episode of Supercars Torque, I cover who is going to replace Jamie Whincup. It was announced this week that Jamie Whincup is going to retire from full-time driving at the end of the year, and now they have to find someone to replace him. So I've got a list of 10 drivers here, and I'll run through kind of why or why not they should be the one to replace him. And I've narrowed the field down to 3 in the end who I think we will see replacing him at the end of the year. Be interesting when it gets announced to see how right or wrong, probably wrong, I am. But let's go from here. First off, I'll cover though, we could be looking at an international. No, this is a very, very serious seat. They have the budget to buy a driver, essentially. Why would they bother with an international? We have seen, we've had Alex Premer, Simona Di Silvestro, Robert Dahlgren, Mr. Engel. His first name has slipped out of my memory bank for some reason. All in the recent past, they've all come and tried supercars racing and not been very good, really. Premer and Simona have done okay, but are they worthy of, I did want to see Simona running that, taking over Lowndes' car, but that didn't happen. But that was like the third Triple A car. Really, this is the full-on Red Bull. This car's expected to go out and win. So really, and you're not going to see an international in that seat. The first driver in my list, and these are in no particular order, they're just basically as I wrote them down, Thomas Randall. Very good prospect. He doesn't have that much main game experience though, and he is locked in at Triple Eight. He's locked in at Tickford, so there's probably a few others in the list that, probably got more of a chance. And as bad as this sounds, would they want to commit to someone for that seat who has the medical kind of issues that Randall's had over the last couple of years? Not so much of a big... and I don't want to sound like an asshole with all of this, but not so much of a big thing if you've got a 4-car Tickford team running along and maybe he gets ill again and has to go off and do something. Both of the Red Bull cars are expected to be running, in the top 3 or 4 of the championship, so you can't just go and sit out races. So I don't think it's going to be Thomas Randall. Brock Feeney is one of the obvious ones there because he's racing for Triple Eight in Super 2 this year, but he's got 1 year of Super 2 experience, which was last year, which is a bit of a mess of a year. So really, this will be his first proper tilt at a Super 2 championship. So he's not even a Super 2 champion or anything yet. Doesn't have any... He raced at Bathurst, but, he doesn't have main game experience. He's just too inexperienced at this point. There will be one later on where I think might be a stopgap till Brock Feeney comes along. I can see he's a definite possibility for a couple of years. I think it's too early for Brock at this point. Bryce Forward. He is a Super 2 champion and he will have 2 years experience in the category at this point. So you could say Whincup was in a similar position. He hasn't had any big headline results yet. He had 1 podium last year, but it was in his rookie year and he was up against Chaz Mostert, who is no easy feat. Bryce Forward is one of my shortlisted 3. I think this kid has a big future in the category, and I could see him slotting in and doing quite well at Triple Eight, and 2 years experience with Chaz Mostert, and then jumping in with Shane van Gisbergen. Yeah, I could see this one happening. Nick Percat, the obvious choice. The issue here is I think Triple Eight will be looking to the future for this decision. Nick is probably getting on in age a little bit there. I don't know exactly how old he is, but he's got to be over 30 at this point. I think they're going to be looking for someone a little bit younger. Nick's probably a little bit set in his ways now as well, so will he fit into that kind of structured Triple Eight environment? He is definitely fast enough. There is a little bit of question mark about the consistency, but then you could have said the same thing, say, when Jamie or Shane joined Triple Eight, that there wasn't quite that consistency there, but then they didn't have the equipment to go out and win every day. Percat, I could see them signing him as a bit of a stopgap until, say, Brock Feeney is ready to go, but then would Percat want to go there as maybe a 1 or 2 year thing when he has a good setup going at Brad Jones Racing? I'd be thinking if he wanted to go to somewhere like Triple Eight, he'd probably want it to be on a longer term deal than probably what they'd be willing to offer him. So as sad as that makes me, I don't think Percat's going to be the one taking that seat. Todd Hazelwood, another Super 2 champion. He will have 4 years experience in the main game by the end of this year. 2 years struggling with Matt Stone Racing, and then 2 years with Brad Jones Racing. He could be a great pickup. Once again, consistency hasn't quite been where I would have expected it from him, but the speed is definitely there. He did win the Super 2 Championship in Triple Eight Machinery. I think he's done better than what the results Whincup had before joining Triple Eight. So, he could be a bolt-in and win from day one kind of prospect. He's lined up not too bad against Nick Percat, and I think he will only come on in leaps and bounds this year. And I think in the structured kind of Triple Eight environment, he could really shine there. So he's my second pick for the seat. Brody Castecki. He has got some Triple Eight links there. My question, he's definitely got the speed as well. I think he could definitely be a star of the future. Does he have the commitment to be a championship winner, though? We will definitely see this year with Erebus, whether he has that. At the moment, I would question whether you're going to get a full season out of him or whether you're going to get, flashes of brilliance and then him go missing some weekends. That's my biggest question mark around Brody. Cam Waters, in a very similar position, I suppose, to where Van Gisbergen was when he joined Triple Eight. He's had quite a few years in the category now. He ran second in the championship last year, which Van Gisbergen ran second in the championship, I think, the year before he joined Triple Eight. But he's kind of locked in at Tickford there, I think. And would he want to go to Triple Eight and then play second fiddle to Shane van Gisbergen when he is essentially now the team leader at Tickford? That would be a big question. He probably has more of a chance winning the championship leading Tickford than what he does being second fiddle at Triple Eight, because I don't think now Shane van Gisbergen, I don't think will be going anywhere for a while with Jamie gone. Andre Heimgartner. This is one man, he definitely has the speed. He definitely has the experience nowadays. Does he have the consistency? And would Triple Eight want 2 New Zealanders? Nothing against having 2 New Zealanders in the team. It worked quite reasonably at DJR Team Penske, but for marketing purposes, especially when they're Red Bull Racing Australia and all the Ampol stuff and that, do they want that for marketing? Andre, I think he's going to be a bit like a Jason Richards, where he never quite gets that top drive he deserves, and his whole career is going to be a bit of what if at the end of it. He definitely could do the job, but I just can't see that one happening. Will Brown. This is a tough one. He was the next big thing until last year's Super 2 Championship, and then he was a little bit disappointing. It will be interesting if him and Brody are in exactly the same equipment all year, how they kind of interact at Erebus. You would assume that Will is going to do a better job because he has a bit more experience, but I get the impression that Brody's probably going to be more inconsistent, but he will have those headline results where, I could quite see Brody winning a race this year, where Will probably finish higher in the championship than him, but I think it'll just be a steady as she goes kind of approach, whereas Brody's going to be more, win or bust. I think Will Brown's in the hard position in that there is some really good young blokes out there at the moment, and he might just not be quite as good. We could see by the end of the year, I could be totally wrong, because he's done very well in the endurance races the last few years, but in the Super 2 stuff, he hasn't impressed as much as some of the others have. The third driver that I'm picking for this seat is one from a bit of left field, but I think this guy might be a stopgap while Brock Feeney gets his probably another year in Super 2, and then maybe possibly a year, say, at a Matt Stone Racing or a Techno Team Sydney, just to ease into the category, because I think Brock is probably their long-term goal kind of driver. So the bloke who should replace Jamie Whincup, should that be the plan, is one Garth Tander. He has the consistency. He has the speed. If Jamie decides to come back and do endurance races, they've got Craig Lowndes and Jamie Whincup as co-drivers. So do they need to go? You can have Garth Tander in the car. I think at this point in his career, if he had to play second fiddle to Shane Van Gisbergen, he probably would, as long as he, got to win a few races during the year. To me, it all makes sense, and it would be good for, a lot of people don't like him, but he was one of my favourite drivers over the years. So he had a proper send-off, rather than... It was a bit disappointing the way he ended up at Gary Rogers Motorsport and the way they kind of fizzled out at the end there. And he didn't get a proper send-off. Most drivers don't get proper send-offs, but, I think Garth deserves a proper send-off, and this would be a way of giving him a proper send-off. So, my three predictions are Bryce Forward, Todd Hazelwood, or Garth Tander. Right now, leaning more towards the Garth Tander option. It will be interesting to see how far off I am by the end of the year, because I'm sure someone's going to bring it up and point out when Brock Feeney just gets signed, and all of my suggestions are ignored. But then again, Roland and Jess and Jamie Whincup and Tony Quinn are probably not watching these videos and listening to what I'm saying. So it's their choice to make the mistake. The key thing, I suppose, is, though, they got Shane Van Gisbergen in that lead seat. So, they're going to have a championship contender, whatever happens. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Who do you think is going to be replacing Jamie? How do you disagree with me, essentially? That's it for this special episode. I'm still Dave, and I'll catch you later.